Mia! Grace! Where are you? Mia! Grace! What happened? I crashed! Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh no, this is the end. Grace? Oh no, 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 no. Grace, we have to get out of here. But which way? I don't know where we are. Then we'll just start walking. We'll make it out eventually. Tilly Walden is a cartoonist at the top of her game. With her recent Clementine books, which are adaptations of the very popular Walking Dead Telltale video game and its breakout character Clementine, Walden has made a name for herself in the highest selling comic books of the current era. But where did she get her start? How did she develop those skills and earn her way to the top where she is getting these prestige adaptations as well as making books that are critically beloved and well received? I'm going to be looking at one of her earlier works, On a Sunbeam. Hi, my name is Steven, but you might know me by my superhero alter ego, Spike Stonehand. Welcome to my channel, Divining Comics, where I explore the magic hidden between the panels of your favorite comics.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
I love comics. And I don't just mean superhero comics of Marvel DC. I don't just mean the prestigious long-running series that you find at Image Comics, Vertigo, or imported works from France or Japan. I love comics. I love all comics. And despite having read thousands of different comics, perhaps tens if not hundreds of thousands of pages of comics, I find that it is an art form, a medium that always has more to explore, always has new things that I didn't know could be done with the medium. And I want to explore the breadth and depth of it. And so to that end, I created the 52 Comics Challenge, where every week this year I'm going to be reading a different comic as selected by a category or theme, like comics from a specific country, time period, author, or genre. And for the month of February, I have collected a bunch of romance comics. These are comics that I normally might not read just because of my genre predilections, but I am excited to expand my knowledge of what comics can be. If you would like to participate in the challenge, you'll find a link to all 52 categories in the description of this video. Please comment along if you've read these comics before, or if you want to join me on the journey and learn about some comics yourself. You can support this channel by liking this video. You can subscribe to my channel so you never miss an update. If you'd like to throw a few dollars my way and get mentioned at the end of the video, you can support me on patreon.com/diviningcomics. You can follow my writing over my blog at spikestonehand.com, where I publish weekly new comics buyer's guides, links to the comics industry news, reviews, and writing that I thought was interesting, as well as the occasional longer form article like the annotations of The Wicked and Divine that I've been doing. All those aside, let's dig into the actual comic we're looking at today, which is On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. And I believe this was originally published as a webcomic, a 20-chapter webcomic. At least that's how many chapters are in the physical edition that I read. And it is a story about two different time periods, both involving the central character of Mia in the present of the comic. She joins a crew of astronauts that travel around to these different dead planets or abandoned planets, and they clean up the architecture on those planets in order to make them livable for new people, for businesses to come in and operate, for people to come in and live on these places that were once dying, maybe find workplaces, find apartments, etc. And then 5 years in the past, Mia is a student at an all-girls academy where she meets and befriends new student Grace. And they eventually have a young high school romance. In these two stories intersect and weave in very interesting and complex ways. In addition to Mia and Grace, you get a very interesting cast of characters. You have Char and Alma, who are the captains of the starship that Mia is joining, and they have a lot of experience and a history doing risky, perhaps even illegal operations across the galaxy. You're also on the starship joined by Jules, who's kind of the best friend. I think that she's maybe one of the less defined characters of this bunch, but she has some nice character moments. There's some nice growth throughout the series. And you have Elliot, who is a non-binary. They're an engineer on the ship, and they have a very mysterious backstory that you slowly figure out as well throughout the course of the story. They're one of the more interesting characters because it really is not until the last 50, maybe 100 pages even, that you really learn who they are and why they are the way they are. They don't really talk much. They only, if they have to speak, they'll use pencil on paper as opposed to their actual voice. And you don't really figure out what's going on until the very, very end of the story. Also of note, there's some minor characters when Mia and Grace are in the school together. A lot of them don't have names that even come to mind. They're just kind of friend characters. But of note there is a girl who bullies Mia a lot, and it has a very specific and pivotal moment in the story where her bullying comes to play. That moment comes kind of not maybe towards the middle of the story, where the new girl Grace, after falling in love and engaging in this kind of an early and initial high school romance with Mia, she has to return to her home planet, again, for a lot of interesting world building reasons that I think it's better for you to discover yourself what exactly is going on with her home planet, her sisters, her parents, and why everything has to be so secretive and mysterious with that. But she has to return home, and so Mia wants to say goodbye, of course, but the bully traps her in a broom closet, keeping her there for hours, preventing Mia from being able to say goodbye to her first love, Grace. And I think that's secretly one of the main motivations that's driving her character throughout the story. And you'll notice I've been saying that a lot, that there is a lot of mystery to who these characters are, to their backstories, to what is going to happen. And it's done in a good way. I think it might be a remnant of the initial webcomic version of this story, where it doesn't ever feel like Tilly Walden is learning the backstory of her characters alongside with you. It does feel like anytime there is a reveal that it was planned from the beginning, that feels in their character, but it takes its time with a lot of these things that you might, if it was a monthly release comic, would have had to get to a lot earlier in order to give you those hooks as to, okay, what's going on here. I need a little bit more motivation. Because it is a webcomic that was collected into a longer graphic novel, it can take its time with a lot of those things, and I think taking its time is one of the main virtues I find in this story. There are whole sequences of silence, of characters exploring their surroundings, especially in that present day when they're on the ship doing their repair work. They get to visit these beautiful, decrepit locations and do some, science fictional repair work on them, and it's so luxuriating in the moment, and in all these small moments you get with the characters where they'll play board games. There's like a role-playing game that they play repeatedly at different points in the story, but these small quiet moments really are some of the most beautiful moments of the story, and I think that Tilly Walden's writing here really embraces that less is more. You don't need to fill every page with a bunch of dialogue. telling you exactly how the characters are feeling. You can feel it with them expressed through the artwork. Another thing that you might find a lot of value in the story is just how, from a woman's perspective, a lot of the story is, and how kind of casually lesbian it is, if that is something that you are interested in finding stories about, queer romance. This is a great, I think, a version of that. It tells the story without ever, except for one moment, really kind of preaching at you or being in your face about something, and that's where a character repeatedly misgenders the non-binary character Elliot, and that's kind of the one moment where it feels like the characters kind of get up on a soapbox and say, hey, this is how you should be treating our friend and not be treating him in the way that you have been. But the rest of the time, it's just kind of accepted in the world that this is the way things are, that these are how people behave in the real world. And you find there communities where it is the majority of people that behave in that similar way, that are interested in same-sex romance, right? That's very common in our world today, much less a far futuristic science fictional world. But almost all the characters in the story are women, except for obviously the one non-binary character, and then maybe a small handful of men. So if you love finding stories that are from a woman's perspective and feature lots of women doing things and living their lives in a normal way, this would be a great story for you. I will say, as I mentioned before, this is a very long work because it was originally serialized in that webcomic format. So it did take me a very long time to read this, and I had a great time reading it, but it did feel at points like I was ready for the story to be done, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because I was ready to move on to the next thing, I guess. It's like, yeah, this is great, like I want to keep the momentum going and conclude it, but there's still so much more and more and more and more, and so this is maybe a minor complaint, but if you have I feel like you get that a lot if you're reading collections of old Marvel comics or DC comics where it's 20 issues of a Spider-Man run, right? You get the same kind of, okay, this is just a lot of the same flavor right now, and it's all good, but I should probably space this out a little bit. I think it might have worked a little bit better in that initial webcomic run where you were reading it maybe once a month over the course of a year or something. I think that might have suited the story a little bit better. Talking a little bit about the artwork, as I mentioned, so much of this is told visually first, with powerful images, with good looking and clear action as to what exactly is happening in a given moment. You can feel the emotions that the characters are feeling without ever being told, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling happy, or angry, or whatever. It's just so immediately obvious from the storytelling because of how well Tilly Walden is able to convey what actually is happening on an art first means, without relying on a lot of words. And I think that's just really good. That's what comics are about. That's what I want to see when I'm reading comics, is something that is confident in the story it's telling visually with the art. And it is a very cool style, I will say. It reminds me a lot of more European style of art. I believe in Tintin works, they call it ligne claire, clear line. It's very simple, not super complicated brushstrokes, like a flat pen. It has a very consistent width, very not a lot of cross hatching or shading, just kind of bold, open figures. But then it all combines that with a really cool, almost not fully abstract, but leaning that way, use of color. The colors are much more based off of emotion in a given scene than they are about trying to convey any sense of literalism, which really, really works with that a little more open art style that you find in, like I said, a lot of European comics, Tintin, for example. And it was just stunning to look at. It was constantly in awe at how many pages I would just turn and see some beautiful landscape, see a beautiful spaceship. The design work is impeccable for everything that you see in the series. So visually, it was exactly what I would want from something like this. So wrapping up, obviously, my normal question of would I continue reading it doesn't make sense because it is a standalone story that I read from beginning to end. But if you would modify a little bit to say, would I keep reading the works of Tillie Walden? Absolutely. I like Danny DeVito in that one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I get it now. I see why Tillie Walden is such a beloved cartoonist. This is the first work of hers that I've read, and I can say I am definitely a fan and would love to continue reading more. Who would I recommend this for? Definitely, like I said, if you are a fan of those female forward independent stories, maybe if you read Fun Home or other works by female cartoonists, then you want maybe something a little bit more science fictional, instead of the autobio you get with Alison Bechdel. This would be a great story for you. It is definitely a little bit more adult than something cute like Lumberjanes, for example, or the works of N.D. Stevenson or Lennox Ostertag. Those, I think, maybe artistically kind of similar, but tend towards a little more younger audience, or this is definitely like a teen and maybe even an older teen and up audience would really get a lot out of this. And then, if you like stories that are kind of set in a science fiction setting without being overtly about the science, I think this is a great example of that. It is much more about the characters. It's kind of uses the setting to tell the story, but it's not about the setting in any particular way. Like, I could envision a very similar story being told in medieval Europe or in a Tolkien-esque fantasy world, but it's not necessarily trying to tell a story about science or science fiction, but it's telling a love story set in a science fictional setting. So if those sound interesting to you, I would highly recommend you check out On a Sunbeam by Tillie Walden. Thank you for watching this video. If you would, please like this video, share it with a friend of yours who likes comic books that you think might be interested in On a Sunbeam, or that you think might be interested in my channel. You please support it in all the ways that you normally do support a channel. I'll see you next week. Never let the magic of comics die.
Old Enoch, he lived to be 365 when the Lord came and took him back to heaven alive. I saw the light from heaven shining all around. I saw the light come shining. I saw that light come down.